There was actually a podcast with the president of the IFA, the International Franchise Association, earlier last year, and it talked about this idea that 75% of the people they interviewed had thought about owning a business. And of that group of individuals, 75% did not move forward because they didn't know where to start. And I go, this is 2025. We have so much information. We have podcasts, we have video, we have chat GPT and AI, and it's pretty amazing to hear that stat. And really what I help people do is to kind of open up their minds to options, right? If you're at a job you don't like, maybe business ownership, could be another avenue, maybe business ownership and keeping the other job. So it's really this idea of empowering people, getting rid of all these misconceptions that you have to be a millionaire, that in franchising, you have to own a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A, and really understanding what's out there so that you have access to all that kind of unfiltered information so that you can kind of figure out what's the best steps for you.
Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness.
Shout out to my sponsors, A Mind for All Seasons. Your brain is your greatest competitive edge, so why not optimize it? Just text optimize to 72000, 72000 for instant access to 6 quick videos that help you think faster, remember more, and stay focused longer. A big thanks to Epic App, the 4-step storytelling system I use every day to connect and to convert. Try it free. Email me at stever1961@gmail.com. That's stevr1961@gmail.com, and I'll get you the free app. Doing Business with a Servant's Heart was just named top 6 in small business marketing. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. So excited to have you on today. You know, you meet somebody, you talk for 5 minutes, and we got so much alignment. That's why you should be meeting people. Whether it's a podcast, listen to a podcast, or jumping in meetings, whatever it may be, you're going to learn a lot about this guest, and you're going to love him like I do. Here's our grateful note for today. You have something unique to offer. Never forget how special you are. Because we're all special. We just got to find that right partner that's special with us. With that being said, we're going to bring our guest on. He's got a great name, which we talked about. Giuseppe, welcome to the show.
Steve, thanks for having me. I wish we had recorded the pre-interview part. It was pretty funny.
It was great. And as I told the audience, I'm Italian descent, half my family Italian descent, and your name brought back family memories. And my Uncle Joe go, "Hey, Giuseppe." I knew he was in trouble.
You don't hear the name often, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Well, let's jump into it. You talk about something you mentioned about people giving them options. You're 8 to 5 at Apple, but you're like, God, I'd really like to start a business, or not full-time, maybe it's part-time. Talk about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so there was actually a podcast with the president of the IFA, the International Franchise Association, earlier last year, and it talked about this idea that 75% of the people they interviewed had thought about owning a business. And of that group of individuals, 75% did not move forward because they didn't know where to start. And I go, this is 2025. We have so much information. We have podcasts, we have video, we have chat GPT and AI, and it's pretty amazing to hear that stat. And really what I help people do is to kind of open up their minds to options, right? If you're at a job you don't like, maybe business ownership, could be another avenue, maybe business ownership and keeping the other job. So it's really this idea of empowering people, getting rid of all these misconceptions that you have to be a millionaire, that in franchising, you have to own a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A, and really understanding what's out there so that you have access to all that kind of unfiltered information so that you can kind of figure out what's the best steps for you. Not for Steve, not for Giuseppe, but for you.
It's powerful. And that leads to the phrase we hear all the time. There's movies, American Dream. Do you see, is it true there's an American Dream out there?
100%. My family came over from Italy in the 70s, opened up an Italian restaurant. They had no money, no education, didn't even speak the language. They spoke Italian and a few words of English. So absolutely, the American dream is live and well. And it's difficult, right? The economy, technology, you got to keep up to things. It's this ever changing business and industry. But absolutely, for those that have that thick skin and really have that grit, I think is the one word I would say is most important to any entrepreneur. 100%.
Well, you're my new best friend because when you say Italian restaurant, I'm all in because I'm getting
Oh,
hungry thinking about it. That's great. So the American dream, and I brought that up because you're in the franchising and there's the myths, and we'll get into those. Do you see franchising or a franchise for a franchisee? Let's use that word for people listening or people that will listen to this. That could be the American dream.
100%. A franchise is a business. I call it a business on training wheels. It's a business that has a proven system and a proven support that you're going to be getting. Now, not all franchises are built the same, but you'll find that franchise that's the right fit that will support you. So, absolutely, it's a business just like any other business. It's just that you have that support system behind you every step of the way.
Thank you for making that blanket statement because people see franchising and they go, oh, they don't work. Well, dentists don't work, mechanics go out of business. I mean, you can't put one company because I mean, I think of Raising Cane's. That guy came from nowhere and he's a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
In kind of a very short period of time. He's of course the franchisor, but there's stories out there, people franchising and getting franchises and doing quite well. Here's one of the myths I hear when I share franchising, like I don't have the time. It takes too much time. It's too much effort. What's your thoughts on that?
That's a horrible statement, for someone to say that. It's a business. What do you expect? This is not let me trade in the stock market or get rich a quick scheme. So I think people come into the mindset, they ask me, I'm looking at a franchise, can I be profitable my first month? And I go, dude, that's not the right question to be asking right now. Let's figure out if what a business is. You've never owned the business and you're asking if you're going to be profitable the first month. Odds are I'm going to say no, and probably not the second or the third month. Could you be profitable? Absolutely. It depends on the business structure and the model and the expenses involved, but it's a business. The first year is that builder year. I went from Wall Street to building services. What did I know about building services? Absolutely nothing aside from I worked in a building for one of the largest financial institutions. So it takes time. You build it, but once you get past that year, that business can grow exponentially. You're making in many cases your money out on the exit. So yeah, I think it needs to be a reframing in the question. People make me a little nervous when they're asking how quickly they can make money their first month. We need to really take a step back and explain what a business truly is.
And that's well said because I have a podcast. This is a business.
Right.
It doesn't matter how much money I'm making, or if I'm making any of you podcast hosts, and we'll talk about Giuseppe's podcast here, or you're an entrepreneur, because what you just said fits for this podcast, doing business with a servant's heart. Entrepreneurs and franchisees, you are running a business, but you want to serve. And with that is that mindset of understanding what's going to look like, game planning it. So let's jump into your consulting. It's probably not the right word that you do for franchises, because you said before the show, what you don't know, you don't know. You didn't say it that way, but how do you help me go, okay, I'm looking at franchises. What's my journey with you, Giuseppe?
Journey is we get on a call and we talk about why do you want to own a business, not a franchise, but a business. We look at your current situation. Franchises cost money, right? You have to invest, whether any business, right? If it's a startup. So we talk about why you want to own it. What are the motivators? I learn as much as I can personally and professionally, background, skill sets, and things like that. And we learn on that first call if we're a good fit to work together, personality wise, and if a franchise may be a good fit. If we both agree to have a second call, then we dive into, what does this ideal business look like? Now that's the key point there. We reverse engineer it to start with the end in mind. Do you want to sell this in 10 years? Do you want to flip it in 4 or 5? Are you building a legacy for the kids, the family? So we talk about that. That makes a difference in the type of franchises we look at. We look at the investments. We look at the area. If you're in this part of New Jersey or Southern California, we want to make sure the franchises are available in those specific markets. And then we look at your skill sets. A burger franchise, you don't need restaurant experience, but you need management experience, leadership experience. So we look and pick apart what the ideal business looks like. Is it 9 to 5 during normal business hours? I'm not saying you're going to be working just 40 hours a week, but do your clients contact you between 9 and 5? Or is it a restaurant that's open essentially 12 hours a day, 7 days a week? Once we figure all that out, then we go to the market to really see what is available. So we spent a lot of time there getting clear on the ideal business, and that, just the idea of being able to keep your job and run a business on the side, that narrows the search down because not every franchise allows that. So we really spent a lot of time. We spent an entire hour just on that, including, some funding strategies, 2 or 3 popular funding strategies.
Powerful tool that you just did by saying, hey, Steve Ramona, you're not a fit for a franchise or this franchise. So saying no is a servant's heart. And it's hard to get people that I mentor and talk to understand no is a powerful and good word, because it doesn't serve you or doesn't serve your person you're talking to that wants a franchise. If you throw them into Chick-fil-A and they're like, I know, I'm failing. Well, they weren't a fit for it. You don't want to jump into it and then pull them out after you jumped into the water,
Right.
because
Exactly.
they could lose a lot of money. What's one of the biggest myths besides the one I mentioned earlier about franchising you'd like to share?
You have to be a millionaire and it's all fast food. That's the big one. And 20 years in the business, when I first started looking in 2005, I was looking at Subway. We had a restaurant. I didn't want to be in the restaurant business, yet I was looking at Subway. So when my coach, same as what I do today, we were talking. He's like, "Well, why are you looking at Subway? You said you didn't want a lot of staff. You said you didn't want food." And I said, "I don't know. That's the hot one. I see everyone. They seem to be really successful with." So you don't have to be a millionaire. There are franchises where the all-in investment, which includes typically the first 90 days of operation and the training and every other expense, under 100,000 to well into the $2-3 million plus range when you're getting into your trampoline parks and your standalone buildings. So I always say if you have about 50,000 liquid and about 150,000 net worth, you can get into some great home service brands like painting, roofing, business coaching, expense reduction. There's so many options of the 4,000 available roughly in the U.S.
It's a lot, 4,000.
A
That's a
lot.
big number to choose from. That's fantastic. So what's interesting to me is people that want to buy franchises, they don't know what they're knowing, but they're like, you just said the Subway. But can people in the franchise industry jump in with less money, but more skills?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how the bit. So I'll give you an example. We have a brand called the Error Group, and this is not a pitch for a brand in any way, but they do expense reduction for small business. And first thing I hear, I don't have a financial background, I'm not an accountant, et cetera, et cetera. You don't need to be any of that. It's essentially for someone that has a skill set. You could be running it by yourself, no staff. Eventually, you can bring on some 1099 coaches, and you help small businesses essentially, review their books and figure out where you can cut costs. It's a free consult, free review, and then there's a split in the savings. So this is a type of business that has a very low investment, very low ongoing costs that could get to break even relatively quickly. So with a skill set of simply being a people person that can network, those two skill sets, the franchisor can train you specifically on how to figure out where to cut costs and how to negotiate with vendors, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say 95+% of the time, you need zero experience in the industry, but you do need that transferable, they call it soft skills or transferable skill set, sales, marketing, I'm sorry, sales, management, networking, and things like that.
Soft skills. I'm glad you mentioned that. You read my mind, because that's the whole key with any business, entrepreneur, big business, franchising, is those soft skills. And you shouldn't be wearing all hats in a franchise. Let's talk about the power of the franchisor. I want to go start a business, coaching business. You mentioned earlier on my own. I've got to learn that all. I've maybe hire some people.
Right.
What's that difference than a franchisee that jumps in with you guys and buys that franchise?
Yeah, I mean, you could run a coaching, standalone business, startup, or a franchise. With the differences would be, and it varies depending on the brand, but for the most part, you're getting up and running in 90 days or less. You're paying you cut the wire, send the wire, sign that franchise agreement. You could be up and running in 90 days. So because the infrastructure is built out, the training, the CRM, the support, the marketing, it's all been set up for you. You're getting access to, depending on the size, there are companies 1,000 franchisees strong, where you get to network and have immediate conversations with these individuals that all have different backgrounds. So essentially, it's a built-in mastermind where you're getting to work with 1,000 plus franchisees. They have usually a national convention. You get a coach, you get your own coach specifically for you, and it's one-on-one to start. And usually that coach may cover maybe a dozen franchisees, but you have that support. I'm stuck here. The marketing isn't working. I lost this deal. Can we review it together? This is all immediate. It's not like you're given over time after you pay the franchise fee. This is literally, you sign the agreement. You have access to the entire system. The investing in AI, tens of millions of dollars have been invested in AI. I'm sure more if you add it up across all the brands, but you have a franchisor that's reinvesting the franchise fee, reinvesting a portion of the royalty to make the franchisees more efficient. We have one franchisor that said that they have an AI call center. It's managed by two physical people, and the AI can handle 250 calls at the exact same time, answering basic questions, scheduling, and then getting routed to a live operator should it be a little bit more complicated. So it's not getting rid of employees and staff, but it's cutting costs, and it's making it a lot more efficient and a lot of cost savings when it comes to the franchisee.
The other thing too, especially years and years old franchises, the learning curve's cut in half.
Correct.
I go on to start a restaurant or start a Subway, I'm sure does, they've been doing it for 20 years or whatever long they've been around. So they had the downs and ups and what not to do and how to do it. And talk about pivoting, because I was part of the Cold Stone Creamery franchise. I ran a franchise back during 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And what I loved is the training, but the pivoting. Hey, we're getting rid of this ice cream. It's not selling because they do a national. I think that's super important for any business, but it's powerful with franchise.
It is, and that's the thing. Some of the franchises, they'll have it's I forget the term now. I think it's FAC. It's a franchise group. I don't know why the name's escaping me, but essentially it's you have 1,000 franchisees, but they'll get maybe a franchisee from every state, kind of as a representative. They meet once a week, once a month, and they may have some questions or concerns that are coming up, like our costs are growing, are increasing too much. To your point, one of the flavors isn't selling, or maybe I have an idea that McDonald's Big Mac, the filet of fish, the $5 foot long at Subway were all created in ideas from franchise owners. So, so they're putting their ideas in there to make the system more efficient. But they will work, they will constantly work with you to make it more efficient, get rid of the dead weight, the product that's not selling, and set up these, another thing we didn't talk about, national partnerships. We have companies, for example, a painting franchise. They'll work with companies like just say a Lowe's, where now they have this exposure. Every Lowe's in the country is promoting their painting type of service, and that's a huge advantage that you're getting day one. You're getting this national exposure, but not just the exposure, but the actual. You're my preferred vendor. They're the first person that they're contacting. So yeah, there's the list goes on.
You're an absolute genius, Giuseppe, because I didn't even think about that. Let's use the Subway model you told us. You thought of a Subway model because you see it everywhere. So you get all the marketing arm of, let's use Subway, as a franchisee. Mm-hmm. When you see commercials or whatever way they're marketing, you're not going to get that when you start a restaurant on your own. You got to build that yourself. Not that either one's wrong,
right?
But I want people to understand franchising, not for everybody, but it's powerful. I want to end with this great question. I hope you've not been asked, but it's powerful to me. Legacy. I think franchises leave family legacies, business legacies better than any business. What do you think about that?
A lot of the families that I work with are creating a legacy. They're looking to build wealth. They're not looking to make it overnight, and they want to pass it along to their children as an option. Now, we don't know if the kids want to be in the business or other family members, but absolutely, franchising. Once you're in the system, you get access to all the infrastructure. Now, here's another benefit creating that legacy. If you want to grow, because now you have other family members, you got other mouths to feed, it's much easier to expand once you're in the system because you're the first to find out of a potential resale. Maybe someone had an illness, someone is retiring, someone's getting divorced. You're the first to find out. Typically, franchisees like to sell to one another because there's no broker fees. It's much more economical for them to sell that way, and you already know the business. So if you're with Cold Stone, you know the product, you know the franchise, instead of going into a different business. So it helps you greatly expand and then eventually take over that entire market. And then once you kind of leave that to the family, everyone kind of picks and chooses what their role will be in the business. So absolutely. And worst comes, push comes to shove, there's just no territory availability. I coach all the families I work with for other business that are perfect complements. So if you're in the food space and you're in desserts, does it make sense to offer something else where you're offering burgers or sandwiches? If you're in my favorite, if you're in the painting space, naturally you can upsell and maybe add on a cleaning franchise, right? You got to clean after you paint, or maybe a roofing franchise. Once you build a relationship with the homeowner, it's now giving you the ability to really start saying, I'm a one-stop shop. Anything you need for the home, from painting to cleaning or roofing, we can handle it all. Little do they know, you may own 3 or 4 franchises in that market, but you own the space because once the trust is established, it's so much easier to do business with the homeowner.
Again, audience, this is genius. I didn't even think about that. You could build complementary businesses on top of each other and build a whole collective of businesses that go to a home and clean the carpet, paint, and put a roof on. Let's just use for example. And you're capturing the pain point of that customer and solving all that with a one-stop shop. I lied to you. I've got another question.
Okay, shoot.
So I've never asked this, and maybe you have. So I'm a franchise owner, and I've been going for 2 years, making money, doing everything. Does it make it easier for me to go and say, hey, Giuseppe, I've got one Subway. I want to do 2 more Subways. Does it help that my track record's been good?
It helps. Absolutely. The franchisor is going to approve you much quicker as if you're following the system, right? If you're not paying royalties, or not that you're struggling, because you're able to struggle, and obviously they'll coach you to figure out what exactly the pinpoint what the issue is. But absolutely, I always tell people to look at if the goal is with the assumption everything is going to go well, which we always have to go in with that assumption. If you're looking at owning an entire market, just say the town you live in can house a total of 3 subways and they're wide open. I would ask the franchisor, if I were to buy all 3 licenses, what is the development schedule and the costs involved? Because traditionally, or I should say, usually they'll give you a discount on those fees. But what it will do, most important than anything else, it will lock in the market and allow you to open up a new store every 6 to 12 months, whatever the schedule is. Because what happens a lot of times is you'll find a brand, you'll love it, you'll grow, you'll want to expand to find out everything around you is sold out. And obviously, you and I and everyone else can't predict when and what will be sold out as far as areas. So always, ask the franchisor. I would always entertain, if you're doing this on your own. If I were to buy all 3, what's the discount on those franchise fees, and when do I have to open them? And then you'll find out you can leverage one business with the next, and the second to the third. And usually you're given about 6 to 12 months for a brick and mortar, about 6 months for a non-brick and mortar style business. And again, as I mentioned, if the areas happen to be sold or there's one available in your market, you never know when a franchisee may sell, and you can always add that complementary business down the road. But always ask that question in the first couple calls.
And families, this is great for families. Such a great idea. They know they got 3 siblings or 3 sons and daughters. They want to build, say, come in 3 Subways, and they start the one, and then Joe and Jenny will get the other 2 as they grow. And prepping, like you said, you go from the end first to the beginning. And if that's audience, you got to hire this guy. If you want to look at a franchise, this is the guy you need to talk to. I love it. And by the way, AI will tell us predictability. So we can't fix the predictability, but AI probably will. Half kidding. I hope not.
Who knows with AI? I don't know.
Amen. We just don't know. We'll learn tomorrow. That's all I always
Yes.
say. We'll learn tomorrow. So let's end with a fun restaurant question. Italian restaurant. I'm going to reserve the table for us. We're going to sit at a dinner table. I want you to invite 3 people who've been influential in your life, whether dead or alive. And what food are we oriented? I'm going to just say Italian restaurant because I assume that's where we're going to go.
3 people have been influential in my life. Wow. Finance. I'm gonna go Uncle Warren Buffett. I'm a finance double concentration, finance marketing MBA. I've been following Uncle Warren for many years, and although very basic, his principles have never changed and have done extremely well. So Uncle Warren's there. Secondly, my personal kind of journey with getting into kind of self-improvement was on cassette. Tony Robbins purchased those cassettes on QVC. I still remember getting those cassettes. I listened to them so much they snapped. So Tony Robbins will be there. And as far as the third, um, my mind's racing. I'm sure I'm missing someone. We'll throw. We were just talking about Marcus Lemonis from The Prophet, or now the show The Fixer. I'm sure I'm missing people, and I'll get heat for who I'm missing. But business related, those are the 3. As far as what we are ordering, we're ordering my favorite Italian Sicilian dish, pasta alla norma. It's eggplant, ricotta salata, and pasta, excellent with marinara sauce. We're ordering seafood risotto, and then we're gonna go with a old school Sicilian pie. That's it. If you drink wine, I'm not a wine drinker, but those are the 3 people. Those are the dishes, and that would be a phenomenal podcast. Just me listening in and letting them all talk. So
We could do a podcast. We would definitely record that. Talk about family style. That's why I love Italian. Can't be family style.
no,
Giuseppe, thank you for
absolutely.
taking the time. You're an incredible guest. You definitely know what you're doing. You're using the servant's heart to help people. I know people want to reach out and connect with you. How can they do that?
Yep, just one website, GG, my initials, the franchise guide, GUIDE. So GG, the franchise guide. You could book a call. By the way, our service, I forgot to mention, our services are completely free to you. We're paid by the franchise companies. So free service, 20 minutes or however long you want to speak. There's never a cost. We have 270 episodes of Franchise Freedom. We have the book. I was very original. We called it Franchise Freedom as well. It's a free download. It's actually my exact blueprint of finding your own franchise if you want to do it on your own. And there's a lot of FAQs and all that. So take advantage of the resources. I always recommend book that call. You'll learn about franchising relatively quickly. Within 20 minutes, we'll figure out together if a franchise may be a good fit.
Best 20 minutes ever spent. And by the way, he's got a podcast. So this expertise goes on and on. How can they get your podcast? What's the name of it?
Yeah, right on the website as well. We're just rebuilding the site on the resources. It's called Franchise Freedom. About 272 episodes, I believe. We talk about not just franchising. We have accountants, we have attorneys, we have business coaches, how to sell businesses, what makes a franchisee successful, who's a good fit for a franchise, anything you can think of. I think we've ran out of ideas, so I'm always asking for what we should be talking about next. Franchise versus a startup. What kind of multiple can you get when you sell your business? One of our most popular episodes with David C. Barnett. Take advantage of that. It's free. And if you like the show and if you want to chat, more than glad to make an introduction to anyone that we've had on the show over the last 6 years.
Beautiful. And he's impacted me. I've got notes like crazy. And if I was in time, I'd be looking at franchises. I'm not ready right now, but he's inspired me. Audience, the first 3 people that reach out to Giuseppe via website, email, or you reach out and mention the podcast, I'm going to send you all a free book. His book is free, so I can't send you that, but I've got a success book I've been reading that's changed my life. All 3 of you will get that book. Just reach out, mention that. He'll send me your contact info and I'll reach out and get your address, because this needs to be remembered. And subscribe to YouTube channels, subscribe to podcasts. Here's why. I love my I have 30,000 subscribers. So happy we have so many subscribers. But any podcast, subscribe to the Franchise Freedom. Here's why. You're at a party, you're talking to a friend, they go, man, I got to change my job. Have you thought about franchise? No. Should I? Well, let me send you the link to Giuseppe. He talks about franchises. He signs up. He joins and reaches out and talks to Giuseppe and gets a franchise. I want you to think about it. Did you impact him? Did you serve him? Yeah. Absolutely huge impact. Thank you, Giuseppe. So keep in mind, subscribe to these, only the ones that resonate, of course, and then you make sure you share them. With that being said, me and Giuseppe want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.